Yo, what's up, Instagram family? I'm back with a whole another word. I know it's been a while since I came in and tapped in with y'all, but you better believe I've been reading that word, I've been praying, and I've been fasting. And today we're just gonna get straight into it. And if I had to label or title this topic today, what I'm about to teach anything, I will probably title it, Don't Muzzle Your Great Stone. My topic from today is going to be coming from the beginning of Joshua, from Joshua chapter 3 and some of chapter 4. I would not be reading the whole Joshua 3 and chapter 4, but I am going to read some of chapter 4. Just to give you a brief synopsis about what's going on. Joshua is now the new leader of the Israelites because Moses has just died. And the Lord has commanded Joshua to get the Israelites over the Jordan River so that they can go into the land which the Lord had promised them. In this specific chapter 3 and chapter 4, the Lord was giving Joshua very specific commands. I want you to tell the Levitical priests that they are the ones that are to take the Ark of the Covenant into the water. And once they get their feet into the brink of the Jordan River, that's when God showed his mighty power, and he ended up cutting off all of the waters of the Jordan River so that all the people of Israel is able to simply cross the Jordan River on dry land. Let me give y'all a little bit of scripture about what my whole point is for naming my title, Don't Muzzle Your Great Stone. I'm gonna be reading Joshua chapter 4. The Israelites, they just came across the river because God just did his mighty power. He ended up cutting the waters of the river off so that the Israelites can cross over into this land that he wants them to possess. When all the nation had fully passed over the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, take 12 men from among the people, one man out of every tribe, and command them, take 12 stones out of the midst of the Jordan from the place where the priest's feet stood firm. Carry them over with you and leave them at the place where you lodge tonight. Then Joshua called the 12 men of the Israelites whom he had appointed, a man from each tribe. And Joshua said to them, pass over before the ark of the Lord your God in the midst of the Jordan, and take up every man of you a stone on his shoulder, as it is the number of the tribes of the Israelites. Now this is the main point, the main verse about my whole message. And it says, in verse 6, it says that this, being that they got these stones, this is what the Lord is saying. It's saying that this may be a sign among you when your children ask in time to come, what do these stones mean to you? Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the Israelites a memorial forever. Let me go down to verse 19. In verse 19 it says, and the people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month and encamped in Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. And those 12 stones which they took out of the Jordan, Joshua set up in Gilgal. And he said to the Israelites, when your children ask their fathers in time to come, what do these stones mean? You shall let your children know Israel came over this Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we passed over, that all the peoples of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, and that you may reverence and fear the Lord your God forever. All right, so now we know what happened with these stones. The stones were supposed to be remembrance for the generations and the children that was to come in the near future. These stones were supposed to be a representation of what the Lord had done for his people. Back in ancient Israel, every time that the Lord, not every single time, but most of the times when the Lord did something phenomenal for these people, when the Lord did something powerful for these people, what they would do was they would build up altars, or they would build up stones, and they would name the stone or the altar. They would say, I'm going to name this such and such, and this is where the Lord did such and such. So right now, we don't build up altars or we don't build up stones, but we should at least have a testimony of what the Lord has done for us, so that our testimony can be a remembrance of what the Father has done for us. The stones that the ancient Israel have is our modern day testimony. You should be testifying about what the Lord has done for you, what the Lord has brought you from, what the Lord has did for you, what the Lord has provided for you. And you know, the Bible declares that in the last days, they will become lovers of themselves. And what's happening is people aren't testifying because they don't want to look weak. They're lovers of themselves. Everybody wants to look like they're Superman, so nobody's saying anything. Everybody's keeping their mouth closed about what the Lord did for them, because we have this certain image that we want to portray. We always want to seem strong. But Apostle Paul, he said later on in the New Testament, he said, I brag in my infirmities, because that's when God is lifted up. You know, Apostle Paul said, where I am weak, God is strong. So we should be telling our testimonies, even if it makes us look weak. But I remember telling you guys in the video that I did before that we relate to each other through suffering. It's not, I can't be Superman every time I have to open my mouth and tell you about the goodness of God. I got to tell you the time of when I didn't have my rent money, it came through. I got to tell you the time of when I couldn't provide for my kids' daycare, it came through. God came through for me. I have to tell you about the time when I didn't have any food on my plate and how God brought me through that. I got to tell you about the times when I wasn't wrapped in my right mind, but the Lord brought me through certain situations. So we can't muzzle our stone. And let me tell you the danger of what happens when you do muzzle your stone. All right, so we're looking at Judges 2 and 10. This is the danger of muzzling your stone / testimony. Judges 2 and 10. And it reads, and also all that generation were gathered to their fathers, and there arose another generation after them who did not know, or who do not recognize or understand the Lord, or even the work which he had done for Israel. And the people of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they served Baal. So if you see the condition of our youth now, you will see that they are so far away, and they don't recognize and they don't understand the Lord, simply because we have been muzzling our stone. The generations are getting farther and farther away from the Lord because we're keeping our mouth closed. Imagine if we didn't tell certain people about our testimony. They wouldn't believe in God. Imagine if we kept our mouth closed. You know, just think about all the people and all the things that Christ did in the New Testament, right? The woman with the issue of blood, what would her stone say? Her stone would say that he's the Lord that heals. The man that was blind, what would his stone say? His stone would probably say something like, he's the Lord that gave me light and that made me see. What would the stone of the 5,000 people that was in the field, and they only had a few fish and a few pieces of bread? They would say that he was the Lord that was provided in my lack. So you can't keep your mouth closed. In the New Testament, it reads that, it says something like, and when all the word of him spread throughout all of Judea, all of them came looking for him. So it's up to us to bear witness of our testimony unto the Lord. Let me give y'all a few more verses where the people of Israel, where they built stones and altars just as a remembrance again. So at Exodus 17, 14 to 15, after Israel's victory over Amalek, Moses built an altar and he called it, the Lord is my banner. And it served as a memorial of God's deliverance. At Joshua 24, 25 to 27, Joshua, he ended up setting up a large stone under an oak tree near the sanctuary of the Lord as a witness to the covenant the people made to serve God. 1 Samuel 7 and 12, after God gave Israel victory over the Philistines, Samuel set up a stone between Mizpah and Shin, and he called it Ebenezer, saying, thus far the Lord has helped us. So all of these stones and these altars, it's all about showing God's mighty power. And again, remember, it's supposed to serve as a memorial of remembrance for the generations that are to come. So my message would be today, do not muzzle your great stone. Somebody needs to hear how the Lord delivered you. Somebody needs to hear how the Lord redeemed you. Somebody need to hear how the Lord provided for you. Somebody needs to hear how the Lord heard your prayers. But as long as we keep our mouth closed, as long as we stay prideful, we will never draw people to God, but we would draw people to ourselves.